Hi everybody, and welcome to episode 138 of the I Rock Knits podcast. I am Cori Eichelberger, and today I have a different kind of podcast for you. I am pre-recording this earlier in December so that I can put it up during the holidays so that I can take kind of a week off from editing, podcasting, even though I'm doing it now. But anyway, I have 5 boxes of older sweaters in my basement, and I'm thinking I'm going to be getting rid of those. So I'm going to show them all in the podcast, kind of so that I have a journal entry of the things that I have knit. And then I'm going to be selling them and donating that money to charity. So today I will be showing, I don't even know how many. I've only numbered the first box. I'll go quite quickly. If you are interested in one of the sweaters, I will be trying to put up the number of the sweater and the name of it on the screen and when I edit, and then I think I'm going to sell them all for like $20. You can unwind them, use the yarn, cut the buttons off, just make the donation to charity. I will be picking a charity online, I believe. One of my favorite charities is Feeding America, and also we have a local charity that helps people kind of get back on their feet, and so they offer furniture and housing for women who have been in an abusive relationship, and so I will be giving some of the money to that as well. I will be going through these, and I hope that some of them bring a laugh because these are memories for me, and some of them were knit 20 years ago, and I don't know why I've kept them all. They're absolutely things I don't wear. But I'm just going to sell them as is. So if I have not blocked them recently, or if they are missing a button or whatever, I'm not going to spend time going through each of the items and kind of figuring out whether or not I need to, if the end has popped through to the front or whatever. So I just thought it would be kind of fun to go through some of these. Okay, so what I'm going to call these are vintage sweaters, knit from about 1990 or 99, right in that era when I just gotten back into knitting. I wasn't knitting sweaters right away, but a couple, all the way up until probably about, I'm gonna say 2012, something like that. So they're vintage, and I hope that just by watching it, you can get some inspiration for some different ideas about sweaters or trims or buttons or those kinds of things. I'm editing this to add that KILEY was over for Christmas and took 14 sweaters home. So let's get started. The first one is called Curly Boucle. That is the problem with knitting some of these so many years ago, is that you don't have a listing of what the sweaters were or a link on Ravelry. These are all on Ravelry, but they won't have like an actual link to the sweaters because Ravelry didn't start until 2008 and 9, and they didn't have the database uploaded for all the sweaters. So even though I inputted all of the things that I had knit prior to that, because I had a picture box of things that I had knitted, and I would often scrapbook it. So that's why they're not going to have like a specific designer or pattern name. I have my laptop right here so that I can keep track of the list, and I have some notes, so I'll be looking at it. The Curly Boucle cardigan sweater is olive green and rust, and honestly, the buttons on this are perfection. So I will do a close-up of these. They're really nice. However, the buttonholes are a little too big for the buttons, and so I have stitched it kind of shut so that it would just be more of a pullover, you know, that you can open it up. And it's quite heavy. It's heavyweight. It's a boucle. It's really fun, but it's kind of like a teddy bear. It'd be really cute to wear make it into like a teddy bear for a kid. The sleeves don't have any ribbing at the bottom. They just kind of end. Almost all these patterns are going to be in that 40 to 42 range. This one's quite oversized, so I think it would go up to a 44, 46. The second one is called the Novelty Yarn Sweater. My names back in the day were just describing what it was. This is blue and purple, and all the yarns are listed on the project page. This is super fun to wear. It does have some kind of fur that hangs out that could easily be trimmed back, but it's a really fun sweater to wear. The buttons are super shiny and match perfectly. I just don't wear cardigans all that often anymore. I've gotten more buxom over the years and they don't close quite as well. So those are the first two. Okay, this is called the Pink Ribbon top, and it has yarn over eyelets all the way down the front, and then you run this piece of ribbon up and through all the holes and around the back, so it's kind of cool. But the yarn is also a ribbon yarn, and so it's pink and purple and lavender, and it's a ribbon yarn, so it would be just a short sleeve summer pullover with a bottom edge that has yarn overs and then kind of a rolled look on it. And then this one is, you guys know my love of cotton. This is a variegated cotton. I think it matches up pretty well after what we talked about on the podcast a couple times ago. So it's just a cotton vest. It's got orange wooden buttons up the front. There are 3 orange buttons. This is a little bit oversized. My mannequins are all right about that 42 to 44 maybe. But the yarn is really, really soft and nice if you're into a bright kind of sunset colors. And that one's called Cori's Summer V-Neck Vest. Okay, this one is called the Red Novelty Tank Top, and it is by Tahki Yarn's Dream, and it's a ribbon yarn on the bottom and a cotton Provence black yarn on the top, and it is also Tahki Yarn's Punta, so they are held together. It's a tank, and I was really into wearing these tanks in the summertime for many years, just kind of a pull-on, slip-over vest type of thing. It is not too long, just a little bit longer than that. This one's a little tight on the mannequin, so I'm gonna guess maybe it's a 38. Might be, 36. I don't have sizes in most of these sweaters, but if you need to inquire, I would happily lay a tape measure on it and tell you how wide across it was. And then this one is the Colezione Muse Tank, and I did use a ripple tank pattern by Rosemary Drysdale, and this is Stacy Charles Victoria yarn, and the top is stockinette and the bottom is seed stitch. And my notes say, as per usual, I did not buy enough yarn and I had to search all over to find another skein of this, but it's quite pretty. It's purple and green and yellow and red and pink, so I'll do a zoom in on that one. This one I just put on and took off the mannequin, and it's quite heavy. Like, I'm surprised by the weight of it, just to let you know. This is darling. It is so cute. I knit so many things out of this yarn. It's called Tahki Yarn's Classic Cotton Dot, and it was kind of the precursor to tweed. It is cotton, but it has these little speckles in it, and it's got garter on the bottom. It's real boxy. It's got gold and black buttons. It's just really cute. I don't know that it would hit me at the right spot anymore because it's short, and I'm short, but I'm wider here, and so I like things to either be short or a little bit longer, but I should wear that because it's quite cute. And then this is one of the first vests I made. It's in a bulky yarn. It's just a classic look. It's called a waistcoat. It's got the crossover front. It's quite oversized. I made it in Lamb's Pride bulky. It's called the Wash and Wear Super Chunky Waistcoat. I'm not really sure where that came from. I don't have a pattern name, but the pattern says it comes from Sirdar 9194. So my guess is that it was in a pattern book, Sirdar 9194. But another couple vests that, are quite nice and probably could easily be worn today pretty easily. Hey, the next one is this black chenille vest. The pattern is the Quick A-Line Vest by Crystal Palace. And this is chenille, so it's very soft yarn. It's kind of brushed almost. And then the little colors in it are pink and orange and turquoise and purple And again, it's that same kind of 3-button, boxy, not too short, a little bit short. Yeah, it's really cute. It'd be really fun with like a turquoise shirt underneath it. And we have this cotton cardigan, and it is called the Navy Saucy Patterned Cardigan. And it has this navy cotton, but then it has these blue and cream with a little line of yellow. So this is a long sleeved cardigan with a zipper up the front. It's quite oversized. On the mannequin, I would say that it definitely has quite a bit of give here, and it has a little fold over collar at the top and drop shoulders. So look at this. Does this look like me? Black cotton with rainbow, and the buttons are perfect. They're gold with like yellow, orange, green, and a little kind of a with a little rope, tied rope in the center, little gold tied link. That's what it looks like. This is the Cotton Classic Rainbow Sweater made in Tahki Cotton Classic from volume 1. And then it is just the black cotton, and then this is picked up and knit sideways all the way around the bottom. So it has purple around the neckline and yellow and green around the sleeves. Real kind of lightweight cotton. It's a worsted cotton, but it feels, you know, summery and, you know, kind of outdated but cute. Yeah. And then this is called the Patchwork Vest by Anne Norling. Anne Norling was an original pattern writer who did a lot of those baby fruit hats. This is knit out of brown sheep lamb's pride worsted in kind of a light mustard orange, green, tan, charcoal trim. It's stitched on with blanket stitch, and then it has the silver clasp up the front. This one is quite short and much smaller. So I would say, you know, barely fit on the mannequin, probably a 36 or 38, and it's much shorter than any, well, the mannequins aren't quite at the same height, but I have them propped up on boxes, and it's the best I can do. So it is right, hits at the kind of high waist. It is called the Ladies Ribbon Bottom Sweater. It is a Hayfield pattern, if you remember the company Hayfield, and it is knit in Mountain Colors mohair. So I would say it's definitely a dark charcoal gray with just some pink and blue and purple, but it's quite dark. Very elegant. It's got a little bit of poof at the sleeve, and then it also has the silk ribbon trim at the cuffs, which is just 1 by 1 rib. Yeah, it's really pretty. I even remember the last time I wore this. We had moved here to Victoria. I was a new neighbor, and I was invited to go to a party for someone who was turning maybe 40, and we had to wear black, and I didn't have any black, so I wore this. And it was so awkward. They were all sweet young things, and I don't know how old I was. Let me think. I don't know, maybe I was like 44, 45, but they had all had young, they were still had young babies, and my child was like 8, and they were planning daycares and like play dates and bunco. And yeah, it just didn't feel, I felt like I was the oldest person in the room. I might not have been, but I did play bunco with some of those ladies for a few years. And this is called the Open Work Black Sweater using Osterman Tropicana, which is like a cotton tape yarn. And I don't think you can see how open this is. It has yarnover going all the way up, so it's like an over size kind. It would be great over a summer dress. It would be great like over a swimsuit if you had like one of those wraparound skirts, because it's just kind of open, the whole thing. It's knit in cotton. It is black, but it has lots of speckles of green and red and yellow and orange. just one of those really easy to throw on over things. It shocks me that I knit in so many dark colors and so many colors that were neutrals back then that were just not what I would wear anymore. Well, it's starting to get a little dark, but this is the diagonal eyelet pullover. It is made from a chunky yarn. It is called Zitron Wellness, and it's really cute. I hope you can't hear him crying. It's got eyelets all the way down it. It is a chunkier yarn and it is a bit oversized, but still kind of cute. And then this one is called the Cabana Ribbon Sweater. And this is shiny and it's got some sheen to it. It's made out of ribbon. The ribbon is Katia Venencia. This is a size 42. I made a ton of these. This is like a t-shirt top, just real tee, nice and long, bodied, real soft, lightweight. It's got really nice drape to it. So that's just a lovely sweater. Boy, I really feel like these are going, some of them are super like out of date and then others are a little bit better. This is a white cotton cropped top. It came from the Weekend Crafter Knitting by Catherine Ham. It's made out of Patton's North America Cotton Decay Mercerized. Just super cute. Little picot here, eyelets here. Yeah, just a really cute little top. I probably could wear this one, but I don't do a lot of sleeveless anymore. You know, I have a little bit of old lady arms, and not that I care that much, but I'm a little more comfortable in t-shirt type top. And then this one I did wear quite a bit with a white shirt underneath it, a white cotton shirt with the tails sticking out, and it does have cables up the front. This is also a cotton top. This is the cotton cable tank. It's cream and yellow, so it is kind of a mix of almost a marled yarn. It is knit with Hayfield Savannah. Yeah, and so two more kind of tank top type of tops. This one is a little more loosely knit and a little more flowy, and this one is just a little bit stiffer and not quite so flowy. Thought I would show this one kind of close up here. Just here's this one. Yeah. Okay, the next one is this top-down bulky half and half sweater, red and black, out of the Brown Sheep Burley Spun and Plymouth Yarn Yukon. And this is, I knit so many of these in bulky weight yarns, just little top-down raglans, practicing raglan increases in different varieties. So this one has yarn overs, and then I would just cast off. It would work up really quickly. Just to use up yarns. I made one for KILEY when she was little, and her cousin, my niece, when they were younger. I used to make them for the kids, and then I had this one in my stash. I do have a black button on it, and then this, it kind of looks like buttons, but it's just where the striping on the garter stitch happened. Just kind of an interesting look. I don't know if I would have done that anymore, but yeah, so just a short little bulky weight cardigan. I think I had to use 2 or 3 skeins to make that. And then over here is kind of a fancy sweater. It is black ribbon. This is with Trendsetter yarns, and those were all really novelty yarns back in the day. It's called Dulcino. I will zoom in here, but it's on the sleeves, and it is like almost like a boucle, a curly yarn with red, yellow, blue, green for the collar, cuffs, and then the front band. So that's a nice way to add a little color to a sweater, is just by binding off or doing one row, and then it gives a really nice vertical line as well when you're standing. This has pearl buttons with rainbow gems all the way around the outside. They're really sparkly and pretty with a little gold background. So I will also zoom in on that if I can when I'm editing. But yeah, kind of a nice cardigan, a set-in sleeve, but just something I wouldn't wear anymore because it's black. Okay, I took a class to learn how to knit a sweater sideways or with a vertical stripe. So we were asked to bring all of our scraps to class in a big box. Small pieces, large pieces. And a gentleman taught this class at the Minnesota Knitting Guild when it was held at St. Kate's. So that would have been many years ago. And we put together our scraps into piles, and then we started working on this scrap yarn sweater. And we didn't get very far, but he talked about changing gauge with different weights of yarn and holding 2 yarns double, and then how you could like knit a stripe and then change your needle size, or decrease stitches, or just keep the same and have more open work. Like there were multiple options for keeping those stripes the same, even if your yarn wasn't of the same gauge. It was a really fascinating kind of introduction to using all different types of yarns together. This one is called the Scrap Yarn Sideways Sweater, and it came from the Barocco Outerwear brochure number 178. It is just a regular pullover where we worked from one end across to the other end and then just seamed here and added a neckband and then cuffs at the bottom, and the striping went right up over the top. Yeah, so it was kind of an interesting study, I would say, in how to put a sweater together in that fashion. And then this reminds me of what I call the sweet young things are wearing right now, kind of sloppy. I could see this off the shoulder. It's very chunky. It's got a zipper front. It's a little worn in and casual looking, but it's kind of like some of the stuff you see in the stores that are obviously not hand knit, but just a super bulky yarn, so if you have a young person in your life who loves that kind of tealy blue green color with purple, that might be something that they might be interested in. It would be, very oversized and right? Can't you see a young girl wearing it kind of off the shoulder? Yeah. Okay, I'm going to just take a minute here because this has been such a nostalgic journey for me that I just am going down these rabbit holes of like things that I tried that worked and didn't work. And this was all way before I was thinking about trying to design some sweaters, and ideas and thoughts that I had. And it's just been such a treat to kind of go through these boxes and open them up, and like they're clear Sterilite boxes, so I could see what was in them. So if I'd go to the basement, I could tell what I had in there. But I'm just finding some things that I'm thinking, you were really learning. And as a product knitter, a lot of my knitting was around quick, simple knits to get done so that I could have the product. So lots of open work things, bulky yarn, novelty yarns that worked up quickly, but that gave a little surprise or, like a little bang for your buck. It's just an interesting thing to look back on your knitting history and your journey, because I learned how to knit in about 1983 or 4. And then I knit, but not for a while. I did a lot of cross stitch and a ton of needlepoint. I'd buy those canvases and stretch it on a frame and do needlepoint, long stitch needlepoint too, which was faster. It was all about kind of getting projects done and being crafty, but, and I did a little bit of sewing. I sewed a lot growing up, but this is kind of a combination of both of those. So this is just an orange sweater, kind of a sleeveless, 2 pieces of knit square fabric, basically. And then I found this fabric to go with it to sew around the bottom and into the sleeves. And at the time, I was worried about my sewing machine actually being able to put that through. And I looked everywhere for someone who might be willing to help me sew that in. And I finally found a woman who sewed that in for me. And it's very see-through. The sleeves are very delicate and pretty, but it's a really neat concept, right? Like, would I wear this with my bare belly underneath it right now? No. Even with high-waisted pants, I don't think they would come up. You know, here's kind of the natural waist of the, but it was a thought. It was an interesting thought that I had to make it. And I did design a little girl's dress where you just knit a little tank top and then you sew fabric underneath it to make a little dress. But it's just kind of fun to look at that and to say, gosh, you know, I was experimenting and trying to figure out ways to make knitting different and unique. And then over here we have one that's called It's a Cover Up. And basically that's what it is. Like that other one I showed, I knit several of these in different weights and kinds of yarn. This one is Monostel Uruguay Cotton Stria yarn. So it is a cotton yarn and it's open work. This is another one that I think I would wear again now if I wanted to put a long sleeved white button-up shirt underneath it. I think it might be kind of cute. Might be cute with a skirt. Just kind of fun summer wear. So I searched through the last two boxes just to see if I had other kind of open work sweaters. And I did. If you took a class from me early on, when I first started teaching 50 Shades of Sweaters, this is one of the sweaters that I used to show. And this is like yarn over knit 3 together, something like that for the whole thing. And it makes these diagonal yarn overs. And it was just a big oversized kind of a, you know, swimsuit cover up but I wore a hot pink long sleeve t-shirt in it. And I used to get stopped all the time with this sweater on. And it was really a hot mess that when I knit it. It is a big ribbon yarn, thick ribbon yarn. I knit it on a big needle. And the bottom bias, so I'm going to turn this. So the two pieces, you knit 2 squares, and because the whole thing was shifted left, it biased. The whole piece of fabric was like at an angle, trapezoid. And the other piece was the same way. So then trying to sew them together was just a mess. And I was like, what am I going to do? Like I did all this knitting. I don't want to rip it out. And so I just knit it together like this. I knit it together so that each side has like an offset piece. I just stitched it up. The lines kind of matched up around the edges, but I'll show you the other side. Yeah, so you can see how this side, the front piece hangs down. And it looked like that was intentional because but it was really crooked. And I think that's kind of how that class, Fixer Upper came to be, where I just take things when they're not working. And because I'm a product knitter and I want the product, I'm not interested in re-knitting or making it right by ripping back or knitting more professionally or perfectionistically or something. I just want to try to figure out ways to make it work, like with collars and necklines and things that don't work. And so this is one of the ways that I just made this work. And I wore this all the time. It was just super easy to throw on over my t-shirt. And it is just, it's not super worn because of course this ribbon is probably just polyester. I just don't wear it anymore because it just feels so off. But I did wear it for a really long time. See, now you can see that there's this angle and it goes the same way on the other side. It just looks like it's supposed to be asymmetrical. And this one I have all the information about. This is from Knitting Simple Sweaters from Luxurious Yarns, page 78, called Finest Cotton Eyelet Rib. And I struggled with this pattern at times, and it seemed to go along slowly with the small yarn and small needles. So I was so glad it was finally done. That's what I wrote. It is knit with Rowan Cotton Glacé yarn in a white. And it turned out kind of cute. I can see a line right here in the center, but I don't really care. I don't know what's there. I'm going to have to look at it closer. I don't know if it got snagged. I'll have to look and see if it's the same way in the back, because this is basically 4 squares sewn together, I think, pretty much. Drop shoulder, but it is one that I have all the information about. If you've been around for a while, like since 2012 as a knitter, you will recognize this sweater. This was one of the first sweaters that really went kind of viral or got really popular. You might not recognize it in two colors, but it's called the Gemini by Jane Richmond, and it has this lace yoke, and then the back side, it doesn't have the lace, and you can wear it front or back facing, so you can decide if you want the lace in the front or the back. And it was knit in a linen yarn at a looser gauge, so it knit up quite quickly. I knit mine in a cotton yarn, like a little heavier cotton, so it was classic elite Provence yarn, which I loved knitting with cotton, and the Provence was my favorite back in the day. But this came out in the Knitty magazine of spring and summer 2012, so it would have been a free pattern, and it's knit in DK weight yarn, and the sizes go from an extra small to 3X. So I'm assuming that this pattern is still available out there for free and that you could still knit it. So here it is with the yarn lace in the back, and she knit it in a gray. And so a little bit, when you wear it in the back, a little bit of the lace shows in the front like that. In the front, the lace goes all the way across, and then it doesn't have the lace in the back. So it's a really interesting concept, and I think could still be easily worn today. What I'm guessing is that I didn't have enough cotton in my stash, and so I alternated skeins to make it two-toned, but most of them are not two-toned, and quite a few of them are knit in variegated yarns. Here's one in variegated yarn with a wide neckline, and I remember that my neckline was kind of wide too, so I did my little neckline trick and pulled it in a little bit. And then this is the second one, a waistline. So I did yarn over knit two together with a purl row above and below, and then I knit an I-cord and I put it through there to cinch up the waist a little bit, and you could tie it here if you wanted. You could tie these two together. And then I did the same at the end of the sleeve. I put some yarn overs at the end of the short sleeves. But I think the problem with this is that I got a nice, let me turn this, nice pool at the top of the sleeve in pink. Because probably at the time I didn't know to alternate skeins. And I got a nice pink and green one at the top of this sleeve. And so I probably didn't love that, I'm guessing. It has a nice little edge all the way around it. Yeah, it would be just kind of a cute over a little sleeveless dress in the summer. Okay, I got a phone call during this time, and then I made a phone call during this time, and I forgot to turn off the recording. So I've literally edited out 34 minutes of recorded time of me talking and doing an actual phone call. Oh, well, that'll be fun when I'm editing. I'll just have to go delete. This is a cotton black, one of those chunky, bulky, top-down raglan, using up a bunch of colored yarn just to make a colorful striped yoke on a sweater. Again, I didn't wear it very much. The buttons are great. They match perfectly. They're those really nice, flat, almost feel like stone buttons with wood around the outside. I'll try to zoom in on that. Cute and bright, but... And then this is from many, many years ago. This is a bulky shell. And this is the concept that I had, was to put trim on it. So I added pink and white stripes down here in knit one, and then I did a bind off edge in 1 by 1, and it kind of rolled, but I did the same thing around here. It's pink and white, every other one in like a rib, but I don't think I purled them. Nope, I knit them. And then I just bound off in the color, and it just gave it some trim. And I was trying that on a lot of different sweaters during this time, different tops, and trying to check out trims. And if I made a top too short, a few years later, I would add some trim to the bottom of it, either picking up at the bottom and ripping off the ribbing, or just picking up from underneath. And I'm sure I have a couple more of these to show where I added some color to try to make the sweater wearable for a longer period of time, when it was either too short or too long or too boxy, those kinds of things. So fix it, again, fix it. Okay, I do have information on this coat. This is the Flicka coat by Anna Bell, and I knit it in Verbier yarn, which is a which is a super bulky chained yarn, kind of a slippery. It is 100% wool and feels like slippery acrylic, so I don't know how that is made, but the coat came out in December of 2006. I didn't knit it until much later. Here's a picture of her in it on a couch, and so it's a little bit hard to see, but the sleeves are real bulky, and then you do increases on the way down, and you can see how big around the bottom is. It just spreads out. Mine isn't quite that big, but it's pretty. It does get bigger quite a ways. I got this yarn on sale at Skane's in Minnesota on Highway 7 back in the day, and it is completely a ribbed coat. So you're doing 1x1 rib, and then 2x2 rib, and then 3x3 rib, and then the sleeves are 4x4, and I didn't make them quite as wide as and it has a big shawl collar. It has those same buttons, those kind of wood trimmed buttons that came in different colors. There's another one up here. So it's just really heavy. Like if you're really into lifting weights and staying fit, then you could wear this coat. Because if you wanted to walk up and down the stairs a couple times with it on, it'd be like wearing a weight pack. I would not knit it again in this. Yeah, she knitted in a chunky wool, a Sirdar Click chunky with wool, and I think mine is super bulky, so it's just heavier, just significantly heavier. So mine is twice as heavy. Hers is 81 yards to 50 grams, and mine is 87 yards to 100 grams, right? So mine you get, yeah, half as much. Yeah, it's just very heavy. So wouldn't have recommended knitting it in that, although the yarn was on sale. How many of us have done that? Oh, I'll just buy it on sale. This is a yellow ribbon t-shirt top with lavender and lime green. It's just a t-shirt. I don't think I had a pattern. I just knitted up in similar to the pink one that I showed earlier that was on this mannequin. Just easy to knit, kind of spongy. It's kind of spongy, very giving, cute. But what is it with all the ribbon yarn? I think I'm probably the only knitter in the world who has knit all these sweaters with novelty yarns and ribbon yarn. It was just a thing. That's what we were knitting with. My light is going again, and it's getting a little dark in here, but this is a beautiful sweater. This is the Seville jacket by Annie Dempsey. I knit it using Scholler Stahl Duo, which is a two-toned marl brown and black. And then I ran out of yarn, but on the black trim around the edge, I used Tahki Yarns Fiji. And it is kind of a cotton yarn, and I was knitting this little this shape is kind of a bolero. But this trim is all a cabled trim, so you pick up and knit a cable I-cord all the way. And when I ran out of yarn, I didn't know what to do. And this sat for a long time. And what I decided was to redo the sleeve using a cable stitch to match the trim. So I picked up around and did, can you even see? So I picked up and knit cables going down the sweater. And it's completely different yarn, and you can tell that the yarn started to stripe right here because the whole front of it is not like that. Now it's really reflecting because I turned my lights up, but this is all cabled right here all the way along here. So it did match, and that color's not showing up right at all. It's much darker than that, but that's what I did to fix that. It was the best fix I could come up with. in the moment, and I didn't have any more yarn and I couldn't get any more yarn, and I think it turned out really cute. Now it's kind of totally falling off, but that's my bad arm side, so I shouldn't be lifting that mannequin with my shoulder. And then the second one is the ribbon winter capelet sweater, but again, top down raglan, regular chunky misty alpaca chunky yarn on the top, and Tahki ribbon on the bottom. And next I have two of the same project. This is called My Next Best Thing. So apostrophe S neck by Janet Scanlon. And I linked this on Ravelry, but I don't find her now, and I don't find her design. So this was way back in 2005 maybe, or 4. I wore these all the time. This is Narrell yarn. It's called Arisu, something like that. A-I-R-I-S-U, Arisu. And so it's kind of a shiny ribbon yarn, but it was a poncho made with a point in the front, and it's knit at a bigger gauge. And there are some purl and then stockinette and purl and stockinette, but you could wear the point in the front, or you could wear the points along the edge. So you could put it this way where the points hung down on either side. So it was kind of an interesting, you could switch it, turn it a little bit. And so I did knit 2 of those, and the increases happened down the front, and so it made it hang down further and further. And that's where I started to learn about shaping of things, and how if you did increases in certain places on shawls, that would make the increases, make that section longer. So that, yeah, very fun knit. Would be fun to do again. I just didn't see it on Ravelry right now, and I'll look when this is all over. I just keep adding these, and we are on number 36. So this has taken all day to do this. My first turtleneck. This is the first turtleneck I ever tried to knit. I still love a good turtleneck. You know, I live in Minnesota. It's cold here half the year. Although not this year. We're having just incredible December weather. We're all running around without coats. It was like 35 today, maybe, but sunny and no wind. This is the turtleneck sweater Harlequin chenille, and it was made out of Serdar Harlequin yarn, which is a variegated red, black, dark green, gold, with kind of a chenille yarn, which would be soft and fuzzy. Yeah, just really nice. But it's based on a ribbon, so the chenille is on top of a ribbon, so it worked up really nice. It's showing up really dark in the picture. There. That's more the color of the sweater. It's quite bright. It's not, you know, doesn't scream red, but it definitely has some brighter tones in it. And then this was my first cotton t-shirt with a cabled raglan. So they're actually cable stitches that you make on the raglan increase. So I'll hold this out here. So yeah, there's a little garter and then a cable, and a little garter where you did the increases on this. I've talked about this before, but the thing I love about cotton is the fact that it does not show wear. It really, unless it fades, which some does, but the cottons that I've used, there's no pilling, they're not out of shape, they didn't grow to be 100% too big. I know that that's a concern for people, but this top is 20 years old, I bet, and it is still in like pristine condition. I just don't wear it. It's a little short and it's a little simple for what I wear now. Like, I'm into stripes and patterns and color, but I could certainly put it on over something loud, especially on the bottom half, right? So what do you do, Cori, when you did a whole bunch of sweaters in novelty yarn, and then you have a whole bunch of novelty yarn left? Well, you just stripe some sweaters. I don't know what I was doing with these. I don't know if I was going to gift them, because I have several But so this one is mostly blues on the top with an orange button and some orange here. And this is one's mostly reds. Top down raglan, chunky yarn. I held them double, just used up lots of novelty yarn. I'm really glad that I'm documenting this as a journal so that I don't have to keep all of these sweaters in all these boxes as we clean out our basement and try to organize down there. But some of these I'm just shaking my head. Like, I know I'm looking at them the whole time. I'm just like, I'm looking at my screen, looking at them instead of looking at you. But like, I'm just shaking my head like, what were you doing with this? What were you thinking? I think I wore these, but boy, it's been a while. This was my first attempt at slip stitches. I did not know that you could slip stitches up many rows. And I think you did, maybe you did a yarn over on that row. And then when you slipped it on all other rows, you had a little extra fabric yarn. I'm not sure about how I got it up, but it was basically a striped sweater. And then you just drug that one white piece of yarn up. It's really graphic and cute, except it's a little wide. It's can I show better on this side? Can you see how much wider it is? Yeah, so it's wide. It's very boxy. So it's significantly bigger than the mannequin. And it, you know, it hangs fine. So it does hang down. It doesn't look that gigantic, but it was a fun technique to learn, and I really do like how it kind of made it look like not squares or stripes. And then this is a striped yarn that is made with like a tape yarn that's really stretchy. It has tons of give to it. Can you see how, yeah, it has just tons of give, very elastic. And just kind of cute. And I think when I striped this, I decided it needed a little texture. So in every blue section, there is a, well, not in this one, but there's a couple of purl rows just to give it some texture. And like I said, this one's quite stretchy and super soft. Just really soft and easily wearable. Okay, I've been bumping these mannequins in my chair, and so I tried to adjust everything to get us a little more centered here. This is a ribbon sweater, and yes, those are black holes. This is knitting design gone wrong. This is one of my first ideas for knitting design. I wanted to put holes, bigger holes around the neckline, and then also at the sleeve top. So there's also a hole right here and going down the sleeve. So it was a concept, but I'm not sure it was a concept that worked. I don't think I ever wore it. I was just trying to work out, you know, kind of, maybe I wanted the hole to be up at the sleeve more so that it was a kind of showed your shoulder. I'm not really sure where I was headed with this. This is many years ago. And this is a ribbon, stretchy ribbon yarn. And I kind of like how it pooled kind of consistently all over. And this is a blue cotton tank, it's called. And I think I designed this center section, but I'm not positive. So it has cable, you know, 2 out, 1 in, 2 out, 1 in. And then it has these little boxes that are just made with purl stitches. And then up by the sleeve cap, where this is supposed to be just plain stockinette, right here we have reverse stockinette. So maybe this was a pattern that I got from somewhere. I can't remember. Like I knit this in like the late 80s or early 90s, and it is in perfect shape. Like there is not a pill on it. It is just plain on the back. Yeah, there's nothing on the back, and yeah, I could probably definitely still be wearing that over a dress, which I may have to do. We'll have to see. I don't know. We'll see how this goes. Okay, we're getting down to the very end here. This is a black and white seed stitch, bulky, chunky tee knit in cotton, very soft. a little stiff because of the seed stitch, but like just retained its shape. And then this one is a super bulky, kind of a khaki green, olive green, short sleeved with a rolled neck. Great shape. Like they're both in like pristine condition. This just has a tiny little edge at the bottom. And so it's like knit one, purl one for one round and then bind off. So super easy to do. Just use, you know, use up all your old yarn stripe or do it solid. Yeah, I think that I just did a lot of bulky tees back in the day, and maybe I wasn't bulky. And so I was thinking that it didn't matter and I felt fine in it, but now I just don't know that I would wear as much of the bulky stuff. I'm kind of a, you know, quirky dresser, so it doesn't too much matter to me about what other people think. It's more like what I feel like I would, you know, if I feel like wearing it, I'm gonna wear it and let the people deal with their own feeling. This, I think, is one of the first tank tops I ever knit. It's in cotton yarn, cut in a little bit at the shoulders, a little bit of extra decreasing maybe, I'm guessing. I don't think I knit it top down. We weren't doing as much top down then. But yeah, it was one of my favorite sweaters for a really long time. I just loved this. I loved the brightness of it, and yeah, and then it's still in really good shape. And then some of you will know that for many years, my family went to dude ranches out west and in Canada to ride horses. And so this is kind of a cotton cowboy vest look, striped with kind of silver buttons that have kind of a star shaped in the middle, one of those embossed silver buttons. And then it has these little points at the front, which I think are kind of cute. I just, you know, I did a lot of stripes. I loved stripes. All right, the last two, this is 49 and 50. Funny how that worked out. This is a first mohair knit for me. I did a mohair scarf and mittens at one point, but I think I knit this first. This is the Rose Garden Sleeveless Vest by Margaret Radcliffe. And Margaret Radcliffe has written a number of design books on knitting. So I have one of my favorite books by a designer is by her. And it is a lime, turquoise, yellow kind of variegated yarn. And it had a lot of stitch patterning in it. So Margaret was known as Mag's Rags or Maggie's Rags. So some of you might recognize that. And she wrote the Knitting Answer book by Story Publishing in 2005 and the Essential Guide to Color Knitting Techniques in 2008. And then she wrote Circular Knitting Workshop in 2012 and The Knowledgeable Knitter in 2014. So I have that book as a giveaway this week. One of our viewers bought two by accident, and so she sent me one. And so I am just thrilled at the end, and it is by Maggie's Rags, and I have that book to give away. So she founded Maggie's Rags in 1997 and published a whole bunch of patterns under that name. This is the original sweater. So you can see the patterning in there that happens around the neck. It's really quite pretty, and she did it in variegated yarn as well, so it kind of showed up well in variegated yarn. And this is Cherry Tree Hill yarn, and I'm thinking I might have bought a kit. Mine says Jocelyn's Fiber Farm Mohair Mist. This is my note. Have you ever knit something and then looked back years later and asked yourself, why was that so difficult to knit at the time? That's what this favorite sweater of mine reminds me of. The struggle I had to complete it was probably based on the stitch pattern, but now I read knit one in the row below and it seems so simple. So that's interesting that that's what that stitch pattern was. And then this is a Stephen B. Made me do it. Many of you have heard of me speak about Stephen B. This is not showing up well because it's brown, but it does have fur. And it is called the Parma Ridged Poncho Top. It is written by Irina Polidenko. It came out in 2012. It was in a Fila de Crasa Zara family collection. Stephen B had it on display in his shop and I tried it on. It's knit in Aran weight and it's really cute on, but literally it hits you really high. See how long the sleeve is? The sleeve breaks way down here. So even if you're wearing it over something, which it's really cute, when you lift up your arms, it goes piddle-ump. And I think I have a video on my phone of me putting that on, which I've showed on the podcast before. So it's cute. I just wish I would have made it longer and made it into like more of a poncho top so that it didn't ride up like that. Ribbed with these ridges, and so that also makes it kind of figure forming a little bit. And then when that bottom part kind of, if you lift your arms like any poncho, which usually doesn't bother me too much. I do think that the design is great, and if I would have put the sleeves up higher, that would have worked too. See how low they are? If I would have put them 2 ribs higher, I do think that that would have helped it a lot. So if you have made it this far, bless you. Some of you are die-hard iRock Knits viewers and stick around till the very end. But you are going to be the only people that know about the giveaway from the wonderful book. And so you can certainly put your name down below that said, I finished, meaning I watched the whole thing, Cori. Thank you for allowing me to take this trip down memory lane, looking at all my past knits and these vintage sweaters. I will be setting up some type of de-stash to sell as many of these as I can, mostly to just raise some money for charity. I'm not sure that any of these sweaters are anybody's dream sweater to have, but I also thought it might be fun for people and fun for me. So I think I'm going to do it with $20 with shipping and handling. I'll put them in envelopes and just ship them out. If you're interested in one of them, you'll just send me the number and let me know. Maybe I'll post them. Maybe it was an idea. I have probably a couple weeks here before this episode goes live because I have one in the can right now with a friend that will be coming out. And so I just kind of worked on this over a few days, getting the boxes organized and kind of what I needed to do to get this one. But I will have this memory of all these sweaters that I knit, and I will not have to keep all the sweaters, right? It's kind of like taking a picture of them and keeping them somewhere or scrapbooking them or whatever. And as we decide to kind of clean out some of the things in the basement, I am really urging my husband to get rid of some things. So having 5 boxes of sweaters that I literally don't wear anymore. And maybe a couple I'll pull out, but want to wish you all a very happy holiday. Happy New Year. Let's ring in the new year with lots of fun knitting, and I will see you in 2 weeks with a new episode with a friend and all of my regular content, Cori stories, and some books I've read, things that I've been watching, and what I'm designing. I love you all. Come in for your hug. And I will see you soon. And a happy new year from little Chevy too.